Today's video is brought to you by me, but also the information was also sourced. I was also helped with information by a guy named a Phantom fan who is a fan of this channel and a Phantom fan who is just an amazing, cool person, wonderful person. Seiju Aber. Thank you, and without any further ado, here is
Today on the channel we have got a very special book to review for our viewers today. So today's book that we're going to be reviewing is Le Fantome special number 22. As I said in an earlier video, I had a look at Le Fantome number 19. So both of these books came out in the same year, 1979. And now you're probably wondering, I said this in the first video I did. The paper quality, this book here, number 22, is in better nick than the book that is number 19. Now another thing that I will be pointing out, as I pointed out in the last video, is that this is a French comic book, which is amazing. And really, when you think about it, in my collection, I do not have many foreign Phantom books, which is staggering, pretty much. And I think the other reason why many fans, well, I'm a young Phantom fan. I've only been reading The Phantom for nearly 8 or so years, or 7 to 8 years, and I've never been able to find foreign Phantom books. Like you could go onto eBay, and most of the listings on there would be old Australian few Phantom comics that other people who have owned that are now selling those comics. And there's a lot of times where you might go into eBay and you may not see a foreign Phantom book. So I think it also goes down to the point that I haven't made yet, and that if you're a collector of an object or a thing or a comic in this instance, if you are a collector of many things, you have to be most days you have to be on point, you have to be noticing what other people are selling. And if it's rare, and if it's well enough, you've got to be able to pull the trigger and purchase it. And I think that's another thing with comic book collecting, is that sometimes you may be strapped for cash, or sometimes you might not feel like you need to purchase like a new Phantom book. But it goes down to the other point that other people will make, that if you're a collector of many things, then it's essential that you buy that thing that you're looking at, or you buy something and then future years on down the track, oh yeah, I bought this book for so many dollars, and now it's worth a ching amount of dollars, and it's just, you think, oh, I just bought that because it's it's just, I have a passion for it, and that's amazing. So we're going to have a look at this comic book right now, and inside the book, we have you would say the second page, but the first page, we see a lot of editorial stuff, as you would see, and the reprinted, these stories, I think, are reprinted stories from the Fratelli Spada series. This book is number 22, 12/1979. It's got some humor editorial things. I cannot understand that writing, but anyway, we have some of the characters that are shown in this book. We have Phantom, Agent Secret X9, then we have Cisco Kid and Rip Kirby. And some of these books, like some of these pages in these books that I discovered, some of them are colored. And then sometimes you'll see, oh, we've changed back to black and white. And there's sometimes in these two books, you see like puzzles and you see illustrations and you see novel sort of typed stories inside these books. And now, I said last time with the colouring, sometimes the colouring can be a bit too saturated and other times it can be quite really, really well done. And you get a sense of that in these first couple of pages of this Phantom story. Like the colouring on this Phantom story is very, very well done. And again, I'll be saying this because the year that this comic got published, it's 1979. Now, I said this, I think I said when I reviewed this book last time, it's 1979. The era is Cy Barry, and he went on. He's still alive, which is very, very. I think most Phantom fans are very, very grateful that Seymour Barry and Cy Barry has lived for so long, and it's just another thing with these Phantom comic strips and the Phantom and the character as a whole is that if you're an artist, you're pretty much in legendary status from all around the world. Any Phantom fan you're talking to, most of the time, especially the Indian Phantom fans, most of the time they will be talking about Cy Barry. So a couple of weeks ago, Cy Barry celebrated his 95th birthday, which is an amazing achievement. It's an amazing milestone. And I reckon his art and the work he did on the Phantom sort of says a lot about his career as an artist and his career as being a person that has just been working on comics nearly all of his life. And I just say this is, it's an amazing accomplishment. It's an amazing message to send to other future up-and-coming artists that if you're wanting to put the time and practice into your craft, you can possibly make it to and have a career in art for a very, very long time. I think it's amazing. I think it's very, very amazing. So the paper in this book is it's a bit thicker. It's a bit in better condition, meaning because in the other book that we had a look at, the paper I said was really, it wasn't in the same condition as this book. So that paper I would say would be around the same, a little bit higher quality as terms of not much as wear and tear to do with I think it's a higher non-wear and tear status as you might have seen in old Phantom comics that are published by a few publications. I think you have a look, if you are a collector or a Phantom fan, and you have access to early Phantom comics done by a few publications, you will notice, and I will be reviewing some early Phantoms on this channel very, very soon, you will notice in those books that it's pretty much the paper quality is very, very substandard to today's market, to today's comics. It's like a newspaper quality, which in today's world isn't that good. But in the days where those comics were being published, people probably thought, I'll just stick with this. And it's I reckon that if you're buying a book, you're not necessarily worrying about the paper quality. You're more worrying about what the story and how the story is going to impact you as a fan and as a person reading the book. And the art has a fair bit to do with that as well. Does Ace have just the lettering parts of it? I thought that I saw like a little scribble or like a penned piece of wording that someone had wrote. And then wait for it, we have puzzles. We have number word puzzles. And then wait for it, the next comic, the next page, it's black and white. Yes, we just saw the evolution from color to good old black and white. Yeah, I love it. I love this book. I love these two books. Just amazing. I think this is Agent Secret X9. Or is this? I think it's Agent X Secret X9. Yep. Yeah, right. And then we have Cisco Kid Lee Masaki Diaflorald. Like half the book, you'll notice in these reviews, like half the book might be, or well, quarter of the book might be color, and then the other half, and then the rest of the book would be like in black and white, and then it would chop and change. I love it about these books. I love it about this book and the other book as well. And another thing I've got to touch on is the art. When you have, I've always said this, and I've said this multiple times, when you have strictly black and white art, some black and white pencils, black and white ink, you put that on a piece of paper, and if it's done right, if it's done correctly, it just has a profound effect on the book and the quality of the emotional attachment to what you're reading. Like if you're a few Phantom reader like I am, and nearly every comic is published in black and white, I just simply to say I have an appreciation for black and white comic book art and black and white art in general. And I think it suits comics very, very well. I'm not that fond on color. With color, you have to do it very, very well for it to make it work. Like, you might be reading a comic, it's going very, very well, and if it's in color, sometimes you can be like, the colors may be too saturated. Like in a moodier type of scene where black and white is king all day, and you do not have the right type of colors, the right type of hues, the right types of saturations, the vibrancy of the color also. If you don't have those right types of colors in that panel or in those scenes, and if it's a moodier type of scene, then you're potentially going to lose people, and it's going to not look as best as it possibly could, pretty much. I love black and white art. I love black and white stories, and a lot of black and white stories that have emotion, that have drama, that normally are very, very good. Artists that does very, very well with doing black and white artworks and black and white stories and pages and all of the above is Joan Boyce. Another guy that does very, very well and is presented very, very well to do with the Phantom is also, I think, another guy that does very, very well is Georges Best, and Georges Best, Heiner Bade, and Cesar Spadari, any of the old classics, do very, very good job on Phantom stories, especially the Phantom Men stories. They always look great in black and white. Oh, and then we have the emergence of from black and white to color. Like, you'll see what I've just said. In the faces especially, it looks very, very, the color and how the color is presented on the paper is very, very saturated. I am just going to say that. But in other areas, it can be actually looks quite good. In other areas it might be very, very saturated, which I particularly do not like. I do not like how if you're looking at a color page, looks saturated, tends to not be as appealing to the eyes as black and white. And then we have a new Mandrake comic is coming to the French people, to the French audience, to the French comic book market. And then, on a lighter note, we have bees. Yes, we have bees. I hope you enjoyed that review of Le Fantome number 22. If you have any ideas of what other comic books I should review on the channel, please comment them down below and I will see if I have them in my collection, or if you are wanting to send me some Phantom comics to review, or if you have comics that you're not particularly reading right now and you would like to send them to me, you can send me a message on my email at skullcavemedia@gmail.com, or message me on Facebook or Instagram, and consider subscribing to the channel. I reckon it's going to be one of the best years. I say this every year, but I think this year will definitely be a great year for making Phantom content, making Phantom comics, and presenting them to the world. And I think also next year, with the next year being that there will be a new Phantom video game coming out, I think it's going to be quite a good year for Phantom fans and the people who love the character. As always, keep Phantom caving, stay safe, and